Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. The Ambazonian Liberation War is in a crossroad. Our people are confused. We are having our struggle being dominated by nonsensical 2 weeks lockdown, and the lockdown have come to an end. We are also getting information that the Cameroon government is giving us our own medicine, trying to send confusing messages that there will be another 2 weeks lockdown after this lockdown. We know the pain this has caused to our people in terms of destroying our economy, and we know how counterproductive this lockdown have been and the death of over 7 innocent civilians as a result of this lockdown. Even more importantly is our diplomatic push, because the independence of Ambazonia depends on our ability to transform the activities on ground zero into diplomatic wins that are going to lead us to what our people aspire for: freedom from Cameroon. The issue about the dominant factions and those who seek to dominate our social space is very, very crucial. As you know very well, we are leading an international effort for an alternative solution that will be progress to our people towards guaranteeing that Ambazonian can become independent. Our greatest challenge remains the injection of extremist views and views that do not serve the purpose of independence for Ambazonia. We risk losing our independence because of groups that are choosing pathways that are not attainable. Right now, the international community have engaged with Cameroon, have brought pressure on Cameroon and bring Cameroon to the negotiation table where we could address the root causes. We failed to take that opportunity. The international community previously had brought the Swiss initiative, which also did not bear any fruit. So we can no longer say as a people that the international community is silent or they are doing nothing. They are monitoring the situation, and the way forward would depend on our rhetoric and the type of ideology that will dominate the Ambazonian scene. Because of this, I am going to take an examination in one of the most catastrophic ideologies we have right now, which is that being pushed by Dr. Cho Ayaba, who messed up the Canadian process that could have seen Ambazonia being capable of tackling the root causes of this crisis in an international forum. Ayaba Cho's speeches and rhetoric are not helping us, but they are leading us to isolation in the international community and a scenario where Cameroon is taking maximum advantage of the situation on the ground. I will repeat again to our people. Every time we keep on insisting in our rhetoric that our demand is independent and independent alone, it only helps poor beer, because nobody in the international community will try to help us if that is our demand. They will look at us as people who are not moderate, who are not reasonable or considerate, because we have already lost that chance. And right now, it is not a popular idea. It only helps poor beer. We must consider to moderate as a means of attracting the international community, even if we want only independence. Because if we don't moderate, they will look at us as people they cannot support, because each time they want to support or put pressure on Cameroon, Cameroon will say that supporting us or pushing them to negotiation means capitulating into the demand of independence, which nobody will outrightly support. But we can get there by getting Cameroon to discuss and negotiate on the root causes in the international fora where injustice can be identified, an appropriate solution can be prescribed, and our solution for this crisis is independence. That is what we support. But right now, we feel that the only strategy that can give us independence is to moderate, to be able to attract international community and get their support to bring Cameroon back to negotiate the root causes for a fair and just and acceptable solution for this crisis. And we were proposing on the Ambazonian People's Rights Advocative Platform, we have proposed that the Ambazonian factions and population consider the solution of autonomy in a devolution situation that will preserve our identity, our self-governance, our territorial integrity, so that our people can end this war and go about their life. Because we believe that continuing this war the way we are going, we will lose or face a total lose scenario by within a year. So I'll bring a video of Dr. Cho Ayaba to review what he is saying so that our people can know exactly what is going on in their liberation and will be able to make decisions that are very critical to their future. Dr. Cho Ayaba, which was conducted by Divine Chamokong, is because Dr. Cho Ayaba had made very, very serious diplomatic blunder calling for attacks against Francophone, which the international community have seen as extremist views. And he had an opportunity to redeem himself with this interview with Divine Chamokong, which he did not. And it's very regrettable. So I want Ambazonian people to see Ayaba Cho for who he really is. Like Papa Winton they happen, who is my poster, always say unto Capo Daniel say something our people do not take note of. So I'm going to play this video and this review of this Dr. Cho Ayaba's clip together with you.
Dr. Ayaba Cho, when I brought Mr. Chris Anu here last week on the show, he said he is the president of the interim government of Ambazonia. I spoke to your press secretary. I asked her the same question, and she said, you are the leader of the Ambazonia Liberation War. Dr. Cho, which is subordinate to which?
So one of the problems the international community have always pointed in our liberation struggle is that you cannot be presenting a struggle with 5 different people or 7 different people claiming to be president of a country. These are not individuals who are claiming to be leaders of a group, but they are all claiming to be president of a nation that have not yet had its independence. So this question was put to Ayaba Cho. If Chris Anu, Sako, they are saying they are president of Ambazonia, and then who are you? Who is subordinate to who? Let's get a listen.
It's a matter of functionality and institutionalism. As a matter of institutionalism, I am the president of the Ambazonian Governing Council, and Chris Anu is the president of the interim government. As a matter of functionalism, I am the anchor of the Ambazonian liberation ideology. And those are very easy things to distinguish. We already have a flag on the Prime Minister's Lodge. Liberation is psychology.
So I want you people, I will speak in pidgin. I want all una, maybe una pay attention for Ayaba Cho, wait to stand for, wait to the preach am, so that maybe una already know the problem we'll get them. So Ayaba Cho the claim say by functionality, he is the leader of Ambazonian Liberation War, which is the ideology of his group and his friends in the AGC. Remember that when Seseko was functionally the leader of our liberation war, because Seseko was really the leader of this struggle, he's a legitimate and recognized leader of the Ambazonian liberation struggle. Ayaba Cho never accepted that Seseko Ayoktabi was the leader. By functionality and by institution of the IG, he has never acknowledged that. But today he can conveniently agree about the theory of functionality as being the leader. They had always insist that Ayoktabi is the leader of the IG. We cannot win a war when we undermine each other and choose and pick when we apply certain principle and when we do not. It does not help anybody. The idea that we cannot agree that we are all pals working towards a liberation struggle and we all have people who dominate this scene at one point or another. We must be fair, we must be balanced if we want our struggle to be taken seriously. So another thing where Ayaba Cho talk where it already be bizarre and many of una never notice them. Now out of touch rhetoric. Now Ayaba Cho it tell Divine Chamokong say Ambazonian flag would already get Ambazonian flag on top of the Prime Minister launch. That means say would already take over the Prime Minister launch for Douala for Boya. Of course, this is just nonsense. But some of this type of rhetoric are noticed by third parties, the international communities, but our people are blind to some of these things that I want to show you today. So listen to this statement by Ayaba Cho.
We already have a flag on the Prime Minister's Lodge. And we have taken over Ambazonia. We have defeated the constructive narrative of Ambazonia being a subordinate people under Cameroon. The Cameroon army does not exist.
You're fighting. There are people who are fighting on the ground.
It's a shadow of itself. You say Cameroon is better funded, one of the most indebted countries in Africa.
So now Ayaba Cho this, he say would already take over our Prime Minister Lodge in mind, would already plan flag for our Prime Minister Lodge. We know say that one will be the reality. Ayaba Cho talk say Cameroon army in it exist. I want make una know the type of craziness we go on. Because most of these things, when we meet up the international community, they point them out for we. And they tell we say if we really want to be taken seriously, we must align our narrative and our story for our struggle with proper, sound legal doctrine that are acceptable internationally. When you go out there, you talk so we don't defeat Cameroon. We don't put our flag on top Boya Prime Minister Lodge. Cameroon military in it exists. Of course, we know say Cameroon military they for all place Ambazonia. There is no village where you no get Cameroon military. But those military presence, they need to represent the Cameroon administration. So we don't defeat Cameroon in Cameroon construct in the fact say Cameroon no be in control of 80% of our territory administratively. But their military then be capable for going for those areas. But we fight now a liberation war, a guerrilla warfare. If we know psychologically be based on the reality on the ground, we know if we convince anybody apart from ourselves when we talk like that and we spew this type of rhetoric to our people. It does not help us. It may sound good, it may feel good that we as slave people somehow we feel that we are free, we are now more in control, we have more say. But let us know that Cameroon produces the currency that we use. We are still an occupied territory. For us to make a case, we must be building a case that is based on reality and on sound legal doctrine. So I want make una listen to me, listen with these things, and then I will come for una tell una the ramification of all these issues and way I point out for una. Listen.
The Cameroon army does not exist.
You're fighting. There are people who are fighting on the ground.
You say Cameroon is better funded, one of the most indebted countries in Africa also. And so, and compare that to Ambazonia, we are a resource-based people who can mobilize resources from our own territory and individuals.
So, we Ambazonia, we know our situation. For we for raise money, when we buy 5 guns, na big news. When we go carry one attack against Cameroon, na big news. We no be strong like Cameroon, but we'll be resilient. We don't reject Cameroon. We feel fight to resist Cameroon through guerrilla tactics. But when we start talk for the war in a way that make and like say we fight by ourselves, we win by ourselves. Anybody in the international community is prone to lay back and say, okay, you guys can do it. Go ahead and do it. Which is not what we want. We want to show the world that we are a people who are desperate. We have been pushed to our back by a Cameroon government that have stripped us from every dignity and every prosperity that our natural resources could give us. We have contribution of over 60% to the GDP of Cameroon, but yet we get less than 5% of that invested back in our territory. We are people who are suffering. We are people who are not respected, and we need help. We are not economically viable. Let nobody deceive you that we can sponsor a war. We cannot. Most of our fighters rely on donation from our communities. Our diaspora's donation have cut to more than 80%, and most of those money that goes from the diaspora goes to buy names. They don't go to fund the war in any significant manner. And we must be able to show our desperate situation to the war so that they can assist us. We should all equally show to them that there is no way we can accept the status quo. That is how humility can lead us into bigger places where people can listen to us and even appeal to Cameroonians who are francophones, the opposition parties in Cameroon, to apply pressure to their government to stop this war. There is no need for Cameroon to be fighting a people who are armless. We don't have arms. We are just basically using den guns, picking military weapons, automatic rifle and we can get better. But we are a weak people, we are the victim, and we must not lose track of that. And that should be our story, because that is a story that can appeal for help. Ayaba Cho's arrogance. Remember, in a meeting with the seat of the representative of the United Nations, Francois Faure, who was negotiating between Cameroon and Ambazonia, and the Ague of Sea was the main contact person, Ayaba Cho walked out of a meeting. You don't do that when you expect help from people. Trust me. Because in the war, Ambazonia is being seen as just a small potato, as an inconvenience. We need to realize these things and know how we can bring back our struggle into the limelight of international politics. Let's continue.
Before engaging in, do your fighters get your approval before engaging in hostilities on the ground?
No.
So the one na the most important part wa meguna know. Na Ayaba Cho this deny say no be the give order them for soldier and for ground for carry out attack. Even though he claims say na he be the main leader, na he be the wartime leader, he need the fear. Because say he the one protect himself or shield himself against war crimes. If we fight a clean fight and we give proper instruction for our soldiers, we no need to be afraid because we get a legitimate cause. We don't assure our people and say they fight on the legal basis, so they get right for attack Cameroon government soldiers. So anybody way he fight truly against Cameroon using legitimate way will be acceptable by the international community will not be afraid to take responsibility for the soldiers, because you can prove that your conduct and your instructions are based on what you believe to be right. But that is the problem we have. When you find leaders who are trying to hide themselves, know that they have things to hide.
Fighters were trained and provided with a strategy of liberation and tactics. They were trained to identify the enemy. They were trained to know exactly what to do and making sure that those who enable collaborate with the enemy for the enslavement of Ambazonia are dealt with. They were provided with a code of conduct to understand international rules of war. Yeah, that's why I'm having a conversation with you. We don't agree. But I will not have this conversation and I'll look for where you are hiding if your activities contribute to the burning down of villages, if your activities contribute to the kidnap and rendition of our people in jail. When the Americans rolled tanks into Iraq, the Ba'athist Party was declared outlawed. When the Allies defeated Germany, the NSDAP was outlawed. We are the only race who think you should be in bed with those who cause so much harm to our psychology and our existence.
That brings me to this question, Dr.
So before Mr. Chamukong ego for these depths, because this is the most disturbing interview which we think Ayaba Cho could have seized the opportunity to roll back those extremist hardline views he has taken that has led a lot of people to look at him as somebody who is an extremist. And it goes further than that, but that is not my place to say. But I want to explain for you something. This is the cloud that Ayaba Cho builds that give a blind check for war crimes and excesses to be committed in our territory that affects our struggle negatively. When you compare Ambazonia, when you bring all this type of rhetoric that America get into Baghdad, captured Iraq and banned the Basque Party, and you try to compare it with Ambazonia, there is no comparison. First of all, America did not ban the Basque Party when they did not take over Iraq. So you cannot be comparing Ambazonia, we are just a people fighting to resist Cameroon, and thinking that we can ban political parties in Cameroon like CPDM. I'm not saying that we should not ban their activity, but when you give such ban, what happens on the ground is that the soldiers, who majority are not very politically literate, will start go around harassing people in their villages who are CPDM party members. There are vast majority of CPDM people in our countries who do not believe in CPDM, but are members of CPDM or have attended rallies of CPDM because one of their relative is a big gun within the CPDM, or they simply are adapting to a colonized situation where they want to have food to eat. It's a matter of survival. And those people are very critical in the security of our forces because they are local people. They have knowledge about the terrain. They can identify soldiers. And if you start antagonizing these people and going after them, they will feel vulnerable and they will start collaborating with the Cameroon military. And at the end of the day, it is the soldiers who are going to be killed, not Ayaba Cho who sits in Norway. So we have to know this reality, because these are the things that draws us back. These are the things that makes us see our liberators being killed in ways that they could have not been killed. So I've been preaching this thing for a long time, but I want our people to listen to Ayaba Cho in his own words and to see the type of problems that we have with what he's approaching on the ground.
So you gauge the level of how people are free in a society also based on if they are free to adhere or express their political opinions as they want. But what you say, I have to say, sounds to me like antithetical to people that you disagree with, notably people in the CPDM.
The CPDM is a fascist party, is the container that drives the assassination and murder of our people. It has been outlawed. I outlawed the CPDM in Ambazonia in 2014. And that should be taken seriously. If you're a member of this fascist organization, we are going to arrest you and try you. We are going to take action against you, including the death penalty.
Do you believe in the rule of conflict?
So make we get one thing clear. If anybody you collaborate with the Cameroon military, it leads to the death of anybody in Ambazonia, any civilian or any Ambazonian fighter, irrespective of whether you are CPDM or not. I support that the highest punishment for capital crimes, for serious crimes like that, this is high treason, should befall you. But there is the way Ayaba Cho, the problem with Ayaba Cho is that he also will state this as a disguise to blanketly target all CPDM people. Even though he will make this distinction, but at the end of the day, he will still use those justifications to kill people who have collaborated in the death of other Ambazonians to apply to all CPDM people. That is what he actually preaches. And that is the rhetoric that needs to change. You cannot give this type of ideology to our soldiers who are not equipped with the political literacy to make those distinctions. And that is why our people are being harassed every day. People are being kidnapped every day. People are collaborating with the Cameroon military in response to those excesses. And I want you people to listen from him by yourself, because sometimes when we talk about this thing, people might think we are just creating an image of Ayaba Cho that does not exist. Listen to him by yourself.
On the battlefield, as spelled out by international conventions, Geneva Conventions.
The ADF is the only organization that has a code of conduct. It was drafted at its inception. Cameroon hasn't got a code of conduct. We are the ones respecting the 4 Geneva Conventions.
Is deemed to be an...
So, according to Ayaba Cho, not only ADF get code of conduct. Me, at the tell now, like a former spokesman of the ADF, most of the AG of C members don't even know what is the code of conduct. I have messages of some of them asking me, Capo Daniel, do you have a code of conduct? I'm the person who have insisted and given a code of conduct to those soldiers. We have those cliches, but we all know that the conduct of our soldiers are taken from the diaspora's rhetoric. What we tell them they can do on social media have a huge effect on their conduct on the ground. So Ayaba Cho, according to him, Cameroon don't have any military conduct. But we know that Cameroon is a member of the Geneva Convention. It's a state. So they have a code of conduct. The only problem is that the Cameroon government, they are giving rhetoric that are hate speech, rhetoric that minimize and dehumanize Ambazonians, and have adopted a criminal code of conduct that identifies Ambazonians as terrorists, even when they pose no threat to civilians in Cameroon. That is a problem we have. We must be very specific, knowledgeable to understand these basic things. Otherwise, whatever we do, we will always get it wrong. If you have wrong diagnostic, you have wrong prognostic. If you have wrong understanding of the problem, you have wrong solutions, even in your good intention. So let's listen to this.
And I repeat, if you are arrested as a CPDM, you might not go home alive.
Do you believe in the death penalty?
So, una the year basically which you are about to talk. Save then catch a CBD in person. Your likelihood now say you will die. So these are the type of rhetoric that we point out, and I want you people to hear directly so that you know the type of problem we have with extremist views or so-called hardlines, which are very dangerous and can lead to the whole Ambazonian struggle being seen or being tagged as an extremist struggle that will repel any attraction from any goodwill person who wants to help. Listen.
Within the context of the Ambazonian War of Liberation, yes.
This question. Now 5 months, Dr. Ayaba Cho, since you made a vehicular circulation between Bangui and Bamenda almost impossible. You have publicly taken responsibility for what could appropriately be described as a blockade. What is it you are trying to accomplish with that blockade?
The blockade stays in place, and I will not discuss what we are trying to accomplish, but the population within this area, they are okay with that blockade.
Okay, I got some voice.
So they don't just block Bangui Road for towards Alabukam for Bamenda for months and months. We know say the thing with them block na because of petrol control, the one for control petrol for inside Bamenda. Now the governor of the Northwest Province, Lele Afrique, and their delegate of mines, they want to for control petrol because they use petrol money for continue for get their corruption and for get insensitive for continue this war and for give bad report for Pobia. Now the mafia that way they go under. So Ayaba Cho, I don't want to believe that he is in direct manipulation by these people knowingly, but the soldiers on the ground already know what is going on. And we have provided enough information on social media to educate Ayaba Cho of what is actually happening on the ground. He may be desperate to have the endorsement of these soldiers and will go along with whatever they say. But there is no excuse. The population in Bangui Road, Alabukam area, that is the area where our famous Mancho BBC resides. Even his mother, nobody is happy, nobody is with peace in the blockade of that road. Nobody. And Divine Chamukong will play some audios, I think, that will really express that. Let's go.
Except voice notes from the population from that area. Many other questions articulate this point I'm going to ask you. If you meet Divine being attacked and you're Divine's friend and you feel the urge to defend Divine, and in launching the blows, your blows are crushing the face of Divine, the person you are defending, should you not, Dr. Ayaba Cho, reconsider the fighting principle? I'm saying this because the feedback I got from home largely talk of pain that your fighters set to be liberating people are instead inflicting on the population. Is it time to reconsider your strategy, sir?
We always reconsider our strategy based on what the population is saying. In liberation wars,
So if you always consider your strategy according to what the population is saying, the population are telling you that the roadblock in Bangui Road is wrong, is hurting them. That is what Divine Chamukong is saying. Just like we criticize General Saigon when he blocked the road in Dop and he opened the road. Those are things that if you are actually representing the interests of the people, you would take decisions and we will ask the soldiers to do so. Unless you are just a scammer claiming that you are a commander-in-chief when you are not in charge. But if you believe what you are saying, that these people are hurting and you cannot alleviate or give instructions for those roadblocks to be opened, that means that you are a problem. Because when you make the population to feel this pain, they will turn their back against the struggle. And it is the soldiers and the liberation struggle as a whole that suffers from this your recklessness. But let's continue.
Understand that there would be pain there will be pain imposed. And I always remind our people that this thing is not going to be easy. The worst days are still ahead. Okay. And in times like the moment, we do what we can do.
So the problem is that we all know that we need to pay a price for war. We must pay a price for freedom. But this price should be reasonable. It should be a price that suffers the enemy. And then we pay a smaller price knowing that it will hurt the enemy in a significant manner. But when you are suffering your own people without any justification, without any rationale, it does not even make sense. And it does not even affect the the Cameroon government, because the Cameroon government is not complaining. As a matter of fact, people are now calling on the Cameroon government to remove those roadblocks, which they are refusing because they want the population to suffer and turn away against the soldiers. So this is not a reasonable cause for freedom. This is a pain against our own people and is counterproductive.
We adapt our strategies to make sure that we can alleviate somehow the pain of our people. But the pain the people are facing is not caused by the Amazonian forces. It is possible. Do you think people can simply just openly blame La République du Cameroon for the pain they are feeling? Because there are.
So this is just ridiculous. So now we have just had 2 weeks lockdown. This interview was done more than 2 weeks ago. So our people were already suffering and complaining about those roadblocks. Now we have had a 2 weeks lockdown that was called up by this guy Peter Kola that Ayabacho came in and also called for the 2 weeks lockdown without any consideration for the pain of our people. Lockdown for interrupting school, closing businesses across our territory. You have 6 innocent civilians that have died. These are 6 communities who are going to have bitterness about our struggle. But yet, listen.
Consequences. What our people are communicating is different from what you are communicating.
Here are some of the things that
Ayabacho say make we go to blame La Republic. The people in Ground Zero are not blaming La Republic for lockdowns. They are not. They are blaming Ambazonians. They are complaining Ambazonians. But what is this for? It makes them to feel distanced and isolated from a struggle that is supposed to be presented as their struggle. Those are the facts.
People sent to me the experiences that they are having. Listen to this, sir.
Why do you, Ayaba Cho, and your Alabukam-based ADF boys decided to block the road going to Mbengi and making things unnecessarily difficult for a meta man? Where did we go wrong so long as this struggle is concerned? Is that how we are going to fight our enemy, by blocking the road and circulation of people and their properties within 2 towns? Where did we get wrong, Mr. Ayabacho? Please.
How do you respond to that person?
I don't respond to tribal questions.
All right. This is the next question.
When people are in tears, they have loved ones to go and bury in Bengwi, your boys will ask them 100,000 before the vehicle that is carrying the corpse to pass, and other people go into the bushes on bikes. It is terrible, Ayabacho. We can't continue in this style. It is unacceptable.
Clearly, if somebody is sick, let's say in Bengui, and needs medical attention, if somebody dies and they have to move the corpse, if people cultivate their farm produce, you would agree with me that with the roadblocks, with the blockade, they can do these things, including but not limited to taking their corpses. So how can you say it doesn't inflict pains on the population?
Is there a road there? You see, we as humans.
Ayabacho, the claim say there is no road there. But people they complain say they don't block road. They don't announce and say they don't block road. In the beginning of the interview, he talks, he no go talk about the roadblock or the reason why they block the road. So a person where he talk say they don't block road, he no go talk about the reason why they block the road, because they get reason why they block the road. Now they talk say there is no road there. If you follow Ayabacho, because I know we don't ever address all this stupidity them. I want me use to see where to be Ayabacho, who is Ayabacho, and the type of ridiculous things and way it is spiller. These things they be noticed by we Ambazonians because we are all desperate, we are all hurt, we are all frustrated and bitter from Cameroon's treatment, killing of our people, burning of villages. Who is not going to be mad? But for us to come out of this madness, because it's madness, when you are very angry, you become mad. We must be reasonable. We must take decisions that will protect our people and make us to progress with the situation we have at hand. You must be reasonable when you are dealing with the life of your own people. I know Ayaba Cho is so desperate for support from the soldiers. That is why he's accepting all these things. I don't want to believe that he will be doing the things he's doing if he actually was the one on the ground doing those fighting. You cannot treat your people the way you are treating them. Definitely, these things is benefiting La Republic. And anybody who supports it is helping La Republic, not helping our people. But the delusion of Ayaba Cho, which you have never noticed, I want you to notice today. You have heard Ayaba Cho say we don't plan flag for Ambazonia already for our Prime Minister Lodge. Cameroon Army nearly exists. Now road nearly exists for Bengui Road. Bengui Road, go for Google Map, you go see Bengui Road. Bengui Road nearly exists. Okay, you wanna see him.
Means we as Ambazonians, we must really speak about what we want. And on the second question, I agree with the person. It's unacceptable, and I've told the forces going into places where people are buried to demand any form of money or harassing families that are going to bury their loved ones is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Yes.
When I listen to you, I have the feeling that if you were on the ground commanding these forces, the outcome, we might not be hearing such outrageous things. Could it also be because you are directing this war from a long distance?
Yes, of course.
What are you doing about it?
You want us to talk that on TV? Most wars have initially been directed from long distances.
So the problem, no be safe. Yeah, when you are far away from the theater of the war, you will not be in touch with the reality and you make mistakes. But this can be compensated by competence. When you are competent, you are patriotic, and you are putting the country first above yourself, you'll be able to be dedicated to put people and mechanism on the ground that will give you real life report. For example, myself, I have a huge network on ground zero. When I want to look about what is going on in the town, I don't just hear what they say. I see what they see. I go around town with video calls. I ask bike person to put the video camera on the video call. We buy data. They go around and I take a look for myself what is happening on the ground. I have video calls with soldiers. I look at their weapons. I look at their training. I look at their performance. And I do training myself to educate them on what to do. I look for feedback from our community. When they say they are suffering from this policy, I come back to the soldiers. I discuss with them. This is the concern we are having for these people. We are supposed to be representing these people. You don't allow men with guns because soldiers do not think like civilians. First of all, they are on the run. Secondly, they are unstable because 24 hours 7 they have to take care of their own personal security before thinking about what the people want. Thirdly, the education level is something we all know. So when you sit in the diaspora and you just wake up, people call you from ground zero and say, we want lockdown, go announce them. You go announce them because you want to say me, then support you. They want say me, they want also forget legitimacy from you. And because you want to become dominant or leader at all costs, you cause havoc to your own people and what we all want, which is freedom. Instead for us to have that freedom, we will ruin the chance for us to have the freedom. This is the problem we have. So let's watch this video.
But ours is compounded by the social media also. But let me get back to the issue of the question. It's unacceptable, and we are working very hard to stop that particular practice. And I can promise the person that it is going to stop. We're taking steps to make sure that people can bury their loved ones in peace.
How do you get feedback on how your soldiers behave on the floor, on the ground, and are you sure that they'll be telling you the truth?
I'm the commander-in-chief of those forces. They whisper, I know. Sometimes I tell them things that they don't. We
Dr. Cho, is that really what you are saying, that somebody has to?
So this is just silly. If you are really a commander-in-chief, wouldn't you know that there is a road in Bengui Road? Wouldn't you know that the people in Bengui Road are really getting more than enough from that roadblock? Wouldn't you know the reality on the ground? Wouldn't you know the reason why those roadblocks were made? That it has nothing to do with Ambazonia, but something to do with people developing cartels for illicit petrol in Bamenda? Wouldn't you know? Are you really a commander-in-chief? Or you are just an impostor, political scavenger, seeking for relevance as you are claiming other people are? Because if you are truly a person who is in charge, who knows what is happening on ground zero, who feel the pain and who is representing those people, you wouldn't be saying the things you are saying. So let's listen to this last segment.
Dr. Cho, is that really what you are saying, that somebody has a political opinion you don't agree with and the person should face death?
Are you really saying that if a member of the A Gov C, simply because of your politics, what crime did Tassan commit?
They have not faced death, have they?
What crime did Professor Awason commit? BBC Mancho. What is the crime? We don't have a jail for CPDN members. We don't have a jail for the enablers and facilitators of the burning down of our villages. CPDM is an outlawed fascist organization in Ambazonia. If we get you, I'm going home. We are very firm on this.
So now the thing in that way about the talk. Kill CPD and member them. If they catch CPD and member them, me then kill them. Then condemn them for waiting, for collaborating with the Cameroon military blindly. But we all know that that is baloney. That is stupidity. Not every CPDM person communicates with Cameroon military. CPDM people are the most weakest, corrupt people that we have in our community, but that does not make them complicit with the actions of the Cameroon military. However, there are some CPDM members who are the worst of the worst, who are the so-called unelected officials, who have been working with the Cameroon military, providing intelligence with them. Those ones can be targeted because they have become part of the instrument of war. Not anybody because of his political opinion will be targeted. That is war crime. That is terrorism. Ayaba Cho is tagging this struggle in a very bad way. And I'm very happy that Ebenezer Panga have come out and make a speech that have also joined his voice to bring some rational thinking within our liberation struggle. And I want you to watch this clip from Ebenezer.
We have been prosecuting this war. We think that if we act stupidly, if we speak foolishly, it will make us to be respected. It will make people to think that our unwise arrogance is, how do I put it? Is mark of maturity in going toe-to-toe with La République du Cameroon. It doesn't work that way. So that has been our biggest problem. Our problem with amongst us leaders, some of us, in fact, at times I ask myself, how do I even associate myself with some of these people? We speak without control. We don't understand that for us to win this war for the good of our people, we don't only have to develop leadership quality as we go along. We have to understand the strength of one another and use it to our fullest. And we should be careful with the way we speak. We should be careful. You cannot go and take a position where you are explaining to the rest of the world that, yes, the other side is not respecting the Geneva Convention. I too will not respect it. No normal human being, no man, not even Putin, with all the atrocities in Ukraine, will want to do anything directly or indirectly to accept responsibility for what is happening in Ukraine. What have we done in this struggle? We see people do this. When you try to advise them behind, they don't listen. You come to the public, they sell all types of hawks and kites who will come around and throw insults and say, who do you think you are? What are you trying to say? No. It is because if I, Ebenezer, in this struggle, carry myself in the wrongful manner or do something that is not okay, I swear before God and man, it will not only affect me directly, which of course will affect me, it will have a negative implication to the entire struggle. This is what most of us don't understand. We don't get it. We don't get it. We think that I can just come out and do anything. After all, it's just going to be an APLM stuff. It will not have anything to affect the greater struggle in any form. No, struggles don't work that way. That is why if I go out and I act in a funny way or I say things that are not okay, those in the West and others who communicate are going to make calls to some of you and say, hey, what is wrong with that man? Is he okay? Why should he speak this way? Does he know that he's endangering the entire struggle? He's making you people to lose ground. It is not everybody who said those things. It is me who said it. And then they will have to turn to others and say, no, you guys have to call this person to order. But you know, in this struggle, we are all volunteers. Who are you going to call to order? I said something is stinking. And it's really smelling. It has been smelling for a very, very long time.
So something is smelling, it is smelling for a very long time. In international law, in reality, there is no excuse like I don't know. You cannot pretend you don't know who is Ayaba Cho and what he is doing and the ramification it is having internationally. He may be doing so to have political relevance and to have endorsement of soldiers so that he can present himself like a strong man who is in control of the war. He's not. This man that you see here, Ebenezer Kwanga, according to Ayaba Cho and the Hague of Sea, he is somebody who is working for La Republique, who have received money from La Republique. That is what they have made people there to believe, because I was one of them. But this is a person with the strongest force. We have all seen on ground zero what General Transporter have done. Apart from General No Pity, there is nobody who you can compare the track records to General Transporter, maybe General Ivo. That force was being managed by Ebenezer Kwanga. You have seen what they have done on the ground. There is no competition between Ayaba Cho and Ebenezer Kwanga. There is none. The only difference is that Ayaba Cho have recruited for himself some hoodlums who have no brain of their own. People that he will say that if he run on the street naked, they should follow him. And then they are focused on branding him rather than Ambazonia. That partisanship have made them blind to the reality and pain of our people. They are now complicit in the death of civilians. People who I have worked with to fight against ills in Ambazonia today are themselves perpetrators of those crimes. And some of them are actually people who go to church every Sunday, like me and you. That is the sad reality of Ambazonia. That is the sad reality of our struggle. But fellow Ambazonians, it does not end in us just criticizing what is bad, which we must criticize. But we must move forward with solutions that can help our people. Right now, the only way we can do to gain international recognition and attract the right attention from the international community is for us to come back to our senses and come back from extremist views that are not in line with sound legal minds and that will not bring us solutions that are attainable. The outright independence of Ambazonia is no longer attainable because of this our internal dynamic. That is for sure. Anybody who can assess will assess. It is irresponsible not to assess. If you are in a slave mentality, it will be inconvenient for you to face any reality. But you don't solve your problems by not knowing your reality. It is like somebody who have cancer or somebody who is suspecting that they have HIV. Instead of knowing your status, do you really have cancer or HIV so that you can get rid of that cancer and that HIV? You are there hiding away from your reality. We have to get ourselves checked. Our extremist views are not helping us, but will leave us worse and leave our population worse than what they were before the beginning of this struggle. All because individuals have taken positions and radical positions and given themselves positions in our country that they cannot let go of. It also goes on ground zero. People are thinking that they will receive some big money or being given positions. Some have become chairmen and put money as investment for returns back home, and they don't want us to make progress because they are held hostage by their own very ego. We have to let loose of all those things if we love our people and we love independence and we want to make progress. We may not have independence instantly, that is for sure, but we can have independence by securing a pathway to independence, by moderating our rhetoric, attracting the international community, and be able to put pressure on Pobia. Because extremists will not put pressure on Pobia. Extremists will alleviate Pobia and even help Pobia. The first attempt over the past 2 years by radicalizing our youth, pushing them to be so radical that our population will be used to overpower them, have failed because of the huge job I was doing within the Hague of Sea. Today, the Hague of Sea is ruling back all those hard work I have done and pushing our struggle to an extremist way. This is dangerous to the individuals that are involved and to their supporters. We have seen people in the IG going to jail for their activities within the IG. Remember, if you don't learn today, it will happen to you. I will predict to you that within 2 years, known members of the Ague of C that are supporters of the Ague of C will end up in jail for the crimes and war crimes that are being instigated today by Ayaba Cho. You know those crimes, you have heard them repeatedly, and perhaps this particular presentation I'm making today will be used as evidence that you know that his rhetoric and supporting his rhetoric, aligning with extremist views, will cause death of innocent civilians and violate wartime law. We must fight, but we must fight rightly and within the legal bounds. I'm obligated by my conscience to fight for what I believe in, and indeed, I will continue to fight until our people have the best chance to have freedom for themselves and freedom for our homeland. God bless you.